My name is Alicia Latimore. I'm a circuit court judge here in Orange County, Florida. I am assigned to the Ninth Circuit, which means I can be a judge in Orange and Osceola County. We handle certain divisions of the courts. But I just wanted to say that as a judge, I typically listen. That's my job. I'm here to listen to everyone, tell me their side of the story and tell me their part of the case, and then I'll make a decision about it. So this is my opportunity to talk, and so if I talk too much, y'all just let me know, okay? I always say that I was blessed to become the first African-American female judge on the Ninth Judicial Circuit, and the only one right now, because I have a lot of pep. I had great parents, wonderful, dedicated, committed, interested parents. Parents who I was lucky and blessed to have both my mother and father in my home with me, who helped to raise me, who worked hard. Growing up, my dad and my parents, not only were they very committed and emphasized how important education was to me, but I have a very high work ethic because they taught me that too. That work was important. And particularly as being a young lady, I remember having a conversation with my dad at the dining room table where he explained to me how important it was for me to be able to sustain myself, to be able to go out and work and make an income and be self-sufficient so that I did not have to, and it's my daddy's words, you'd have to depend on no man, that was my daddy's words, but he didn't want me to be dependent on anybody or anything other than myself. If I was able to do that, physically and mentally able to do that, to be self-sustaining and make it on my own. So that was instilled in me at a very young age, and I think that that has a lot to do with how successful I've been able to be throughout the years as far as my career has been. So I grew up in Miami, Florida, born and raised in Miami. I'm a native Floridian, and we grew up in Liberty City, right outside of Liberty City, 69th and 2nd Avenue, and it was a back then I guess you would consider it a middle to lower class neighborhood. Predominantly African Americans lived there, and it was not the worst of neighborhoods, but not necessarily the best of neighborhoods to live in. Okay, and I was again fortunate enough to have parents, as I indicated, that emphasize education, and that's the E in my PEP, because education was key to helping me to go further in life and attain the goals that I wanted to attain. So my education was very key. I was able to have that experience because I lived in Miami in the area, as I indicated, which wasn't the worst and wasn't the best, but I did live through the time of the Miami riots. And before the Miami riots happened, I wanted to be a doctor. Well, because back then everybody told you to be a doctor. Grow up, be a doctor, be a doctor. So because my dad said be a doctor, I wanted to be a doctor. I didn't know anything else to do. And I was in my mind, that's what I was working towards, was being a doctor. Well, when the Miami riots happened, and it was just basic civil unrest in the city, and lots of fires. They were setting buildings on fires. There was looting and rioting. There were people who were really getting hurt and harmed. And it was all the result of a jury verdict that came out against an officer who killed a young black man in Miami, and they found the officer not guilty. The community was quite upset by the results because they thought it should have been different. I was about 15, going on 16 years old at the time, and to me, I had never seen this type of episode or event in my world. Everybody was angry, everybody was mad, people were stealing, people were breaking windows and setting things on fire. The sky was full of smoke. The policemen were everywhere. It was, for me as a young lady, it was really a scary time, and I didn't understand a lot about what was going on at that time. But what I observed and what it did for me at the time was make me, for once, come to a decision as to where I wanted to go and what kind of career I wanted to get into other than what somebody told me. And so that's when I first started thinking that I want to go into something that's going to help people, and I want to go into something that's going to be on the side where people aren't doing bad things to other people. Not the most educated and thought out idea, but it was a start for me. You know, it was something that came from my heart and my mind, so it was something that I desired to do. I didn't know what career that would be or, you know, where that would take me, but I, at that point, decided I didn't want to necessarily, you know, diagnose someone's illness or sickness and treat them. I wanted to help them in the sense of where it came to the law, because I saw a lot of lawlessness during the riot, and I didn't like how that looked or how it felt. I ended up going to Duke University in North Carolina for college, and it was a great time, and I encourage all young ladies and men to get through your school, work hard, you know, commit yourself to your education, and get a college experience. You know, do the best you can in regards to, I know that funding or finances is hard for a lot of people. Scholarships aren't available as much as they used to be when I was growing, as well as grants. Tuition's going higher. But start early, start looking, because it's going to be one of the best experiences you have in life is to go to college and to be able to have that experience. Now, I want you to understand, too, because a lot of people think that just because you're a judge or you're a doctor, that you had to be the top of your class and you made the best degree. I was not the top of my class at all. I was committed, I was hardworking, I did the best I could. But I was never like the one who can come and say I was straight A, I was summa cum laude and all that. No, that wasn't me. Okay, I went home, I prepared, I got ready for my tests and everything, but I just wasn't the one who came out with the top grade all the time. I did good in some classes. Like when I was in high school, I was great in geometry. I mean, I loved it. Most people don't like geometry. I loved it. I was straight. I mean, I got A's in geometry. I can't count now. I don't know what happened, but all of a sudden math just is not. But, you know, I was in the Math Honor Society. It all went away at one point. So, but I just encourage you to work hard and to do the best that you can, or whatever it is that you're studying, because, you know, that's all we can ask of you, is that you try your hardest to do that, okay? And so when I was home for those 2 years after I graduated from college, I had a birthday come around. My mom and dad got me a gift, and they handed it to me, and it had a nice ribbon on it and a bow on top of it. And when I opened it up, it was a study guide for the LSAT. And so I was like, really? Because, you know, I'm looking for jewelry or a purse or something like that, but it was a study guide for me to go to law school. And so, you know, I was receptive. I said, okay, well, let me just look through it and see what it's like and see if I can do this test and everything like that. And so by the blessing of having good parents who kind of saw something in me that I might not have seen, I went and took the LSAT. I got good enough scores on the LSAT to go ahead and apply for college, and I went to the University of Florida Law School. And go Gators, go Gators. So I ended up going to law school, and anybody know how long it takes you to get through law school, you know? No, not PhD, JD, Juris Doctorate. 3 years. So we're at, you know, college, and then you got, high school, and then you go to college for 4 years, and you get to law school, and you go for 3 years. We don't nearly go to school as long as the doctors. We're not going to school that long. Okay. But bless you, thank you, and good luck to that. But I graduated from law school and ultimately got a job here in Orlando, Florida, and that's how I ended up here. And once I came here to Orlando, I fell in love with the city beautiful, and I've been here ever since. So I came back and started working. I worked in a law firm doing family law and juvenile law. And then ultimately I went out on my own. I had my own law firm, still doing family law and juvenile law. I had the experience of applying and receiving the position of a hearing officer. So even before I became a judge, I was able to sit kind of as a judge and hear traffic infraction cases and get the experience of doing that. But even more than just working hard at school and education, etc., I took my job very seriously. I had pride in who I was and what I did. And everything that came from me was a reflection of me, including my law office, the product that I produced, my representation of my clients. I took that very seriously, and trying to help them to resolve the matters that they had before the court. I thought it was important. I tell young lawyers who I might mentor that it's very important for them to have what I call the 3 Ps, and that's punctuality. Don't be late. Just don't be late to court, okay? You have to have punctuality, performance, which is good performance, and professionalism. And so that's very key in our profession, is to be professional at all times. And that was very important to me, too. Now, I also took the chances oftentimes to try to be, because in my profession, it's a male-dominated profession. It's really a white male-dominated profession, and so there aren't many women in the profession, as well as there aren't many minorities necessarily in the profession. So I would take up the challenge of becoming the first woman or the first minority. Let's break this mold right here, okay? Ain't none of us over there, let me go try this one, okay? Let's do this. Okay, so, I encourage you just to have that courage. All they can do is say no, right? And I actually didn't apply, or I applied to be a judge, I think the first time was in 2000. And that was an interesting experience, and I did the application, and that takes a good little while. I mean, even when you first get it offline, it's like 6 pages long, but by the time you finish putting everything in there you need to put in there, it's like 40 pages long. And I put the application in, and I was lucky enough that they called me. Well, at that time, they were interviewing anybody who put in an application, and they called me in for an interview. And you have to interview in front of the Judicial Nominating Commission, which is comprised of 7 individuals who are selected either by the governor well, this is the appointment process. You understand there's 2 ways to become a judge. You either can be appointed by the governor, or you can be elected by the people for the initial seat. And so I went and I was going the appointment process, and I sat and did the interview with the Judicial Nominating Commission, and I thought it was okay. I mean, I thought it did pretty good. They seemed pretty happy with me. I was happy with them, so I thought everything was all right. But at that point, I was still very young in the profession. So politely, without actually tapping me on my head, they pretty much was like, little girl, go on back where you came from and try it again later on, okay? Which was fine. That's okay. Because they let me know, 1, that I could come back and try it again. And 2, it was just a matter of not, you don't have the qualifications, or you're just not the type that could be a judge. It wasn't any of that. At least if that's what they were telling me, I didn't hear that. It's just not your time, okay? I wanted to become a judge, but it wasn't my time yet. And so I did what they suggested that I do. I kept going back, and I kept working. I kept trying to perfect my profession and who I was as an attorney, who I was as a person. Because it's a product when you come before a committee and say, hey, I want you to pick me out of all of the people that are coming to you and saying that they want to be a judge. People came to me and suggested to me, and friends and colleagues or other judges who I might have practiced in front of would come to me and say, why don't you put your name in again? Why don't you put your name in again? And I would say to them, I just don't feel that I'm moved to do that right now. A lot of people encourage you to do things, and I'm not saying that you shouldn't listen to that. But also, you will know when it's time for you to do it also. And that really was key for me, is that I needed to get to the point where I felt that I'm ready to go back. I've done what they've asked me to do, and I'm ready to go back, and I believe that I'm prepared to have this position again. And so I did ultimately go back in 2004, I believe it was. 2004. It's my second time applying for the position. And I went in for the position, and the interview went well. They liked me, I liked them again. And this time they said, well, and they don't necessarily tell you right there, the word kind of gets back to you. They said, well, you don't have any jury experience. And that's because I worked in Maryland family law as an attorney, and I also did juvenile law as an attorney. And those cases, when they go to trial, are done before a judge, not a jury. Criminal cases are handled before a jury. So civil cases are handled before juries. I didn't practice that type of law, and therefore I didn't have the experience of going before the jury and presenting a case, etc. So that was what I was told at that time, is that I didn't have any jury experience, and therefore they didn't think that I would be qualified or be the right candidate to select to be appointed to the circuit court bench, because circuit court judges handle felony criminal cases with a jury, civil cases that have juries, so they wanted someone who at least had that experience. Okay, so I went over here, found me somebody who did some criminal law, and said, hey, can I work with you on a case to sit and practice before a jury? See, I was determined. This was what I wanted to do. This was my goal. And therefore, I did everything that I received it. If that's what it's going to take for me to become a judge and for you to believe that I'm the right candidate for it, then I will receive it. Short of breaking the law and all that, I'm going to do what I need to do or what I can to get this position. So I would, I'd encourage everyone, you just don't give up, because you're going to meet those roadblocks and you're going to meet that obstacle, and you just have to keep on trying. If it's important enough for you to do it, you will keep working at it and keep doing what you have to do to get it. And so the third time that I went back, I had a jury trial under my belt and had everything else, and that time I was selected to be one of the candidates to go up to the governor. Honestly, it wasn't until I was an older adult that I was able to appreciate my parents to the full extent that I needed to. As young teenagers or young adults, we may take certain things for granted, but as you get older, you can do it even when you're young. You just look around at some of your friends and how their lives are. Really, you might need to go home and hug your mama. Really, because it does make a big difference as to who your parents are and how involved they are in kind of molding your future. The other thing is education. They don't have a PEP, they don't have that E. A lot of children these days are choosing not to go to school. It's amazing to me how many kids are not in school, do not go, haven't been, not trying to go. And even more amazing is that their parents are not encouraging them to go. But if there's anything else that I can emphasize to you this day, is that your future is so much determined on what your education is. And now we have it. If you pay attention and look around, you'll see that even in today's society, today's date, we're talking about college and graduate educated individuals who cannot find jobs, who've lost their homes, who've lost their cars, who've gone into foreclosure, who don't have health insurance, who can't take care of their kids, who are living at shelters. And it's not because they didn't get educated, it's because this society took a sharp turn to the right or left, whichever direction you want to pick, and things have changed. But I've had young adults and juvenile come to me and just say, I'm not going to go to school, I'm going to just get a job. Well, okay, yeah, I'm gonna just get a job. What, like where? Tell somebody else where them jobs at that you're gonna get and you have no education. And I always try to explain to young adults particularly is that consider this. Let's just say, now I was blessed to be the first one to graduate from college in my family. All right, so let's just start there. Let's not even talk about the Juris Doctorate. I got a college degree. So let's all of us go look for a job together. Everybody go look for a job together. I got a college degree. All right. Let me see. You decided not to go to school. So I'm thinking I'm in front of you because you don't have a high school diploma. Not only am I in front of you, the person who has a high school diploma is in front of you. Not only is the person who has a high school diploma in front of you, the person who has a GED is in front of you. So if you have no education, decided not to go get anything, then the likelihood that you're going to get to that front of that line, as opposed to everybody else who has an education, is going to be slim to none, because the job probably going to be gone. Or they're not going to be interested because there are those people who have more education and more experience that'll be able to get that job before you. So if nothing else, if you can encourage somebody to go to school, please encourage them to do that, because that is really key in regards to whether or not someone is going to be able to advance.